Good afternoon, Israel. Hello, folks. It's Dr. John Taylor Kent. 30th of October. I finally got the day right. It's Sunday afternoon. I have some extremely bad news for you. The consensus among my friends is that it's over for the United States of America. The American dream is over, and there can be no recovery. It is so corrupt that there's no way to ever get it back. It has been gone for quite a while, actually. So at this point, my last video taken down by YouTube was called "The FBI is NFG." So I want to give you a bit of history on the FBI and why they cannot be trusted, and why, if I was president, I would summon the military, go into the FBI, arrest every agent, take them into protective custody, and gather up the records, and have the military tribunals on FBI agents, especially the head and former heads of the FBI, for treason, high treason, a capital crime against the people of the United States of America. There's no doubt in my mind that we cannot correct things through the political process. We cannot correct them at the electoral process, through the electoral process. We cannot do it. The whole thing has been corrupted way too far, and there's no recovery possible. Sure, there'll be small victories here or there. You'll get tossed a bone once in a while, but that's about all you're going to get. You're not going to get any real meat. You're not going to get any real justice. Your Department of Justice is corrupt. Your Pentagon is taken over by the Chi-Coms. Even General Milley uttered that if we were going to attack China, he would warn the Chinese about it. That man, based upon his own utterance, should be taken into custody and court-martialed. You can't get it back. I can't get it back. It's too far gone. It's too corrupt at this point. We know that the last event was not a good one, and we know this one's going to be stolen as well. That's all there is to it. There can be no confidence in any of this. I would have to say the 2016 election, they laid the foundation, certainly in Arizona, for all the stuff that they've done. So you can't just change standards on the fly. And in case you're wondering, it looks like George Soros owns all of the Chinese communist software writers for our election software. And all that data goes to China. And in case you're wondering, I'm not. I bought a Lenovo computer. It was on sale. Saved $400 off the usual price. I could not get on the internet. Not until I called mainland China, the Chi-Coms. They had the data on me, so I could actually get this computer properly registered and get on the internet. Couldn't do it through Costco, their concierge service. Couldn't do it under the warranty of it. And I had to pay the Chi-Coms an extra $100. I finally told Costco and the Chi-Coms, I said, forget it. I don't want it. Take it back. I'm not going to be subject to being held hostage by the Chi-Coms and getting shaken down for $100 here or there. If you're not backing the product, I want out now. And so I exercised my refund option and got my money back. And I will not be buying anything by any company associated with China. Not for intelligence, not for computers. I wish I could tell you what to do, what's possible, what could be accomplished. All I can tell you is I got on my knees and I prayed. I haven't done that since I was a little boy. When Mom had us kneel down beside the bed and praying. Ultimately, she turned out not to be a believer. Had to go to Sunday school anyway until she decided that she didn't want to go or something, and didn't want to bother with going to church, and it was up to me. And I was the only one in the whole family that went over there. But thank God we lived close to it because I could just walk across the field to the place. Folks, it's over. It's been over. We've let our guard down. We've let our standards go. We have sinned badly. The price that's going to be paid is the entire nation at this point. That's what's going down. You have madmen in office. You have crazy stuff going on. You have people that are doing their best to start wars, and they want to get the country nuked. I think they're going to succeed. We have no justice. We have no rule of law. We have a bunch of elites that can do whatever they want, including have people over to their houses, get naked with them, and have battering fights, have hammer fights. It's pretty weird. And I don't care how much the police in San Francisco want to cover up for Mr. Pelosi. His behavior is awkward to say the least. And the police have not done a very good job there. I don't trust anything in the country anymore. So to that ends, my advice to you is to head for the hills, figuratively and literally. You need to go isolate because there's no way that this is going to come around. They are going to cause riots and panic, and they're going to cause as much disorder as they can. They want us to kill each other off, and they've already laid the groundwork for most of us to be dead in short order anyway. You people voted for this. Don't tell me you didn't vote for it. We have not had the rule of law for quite a while. Your burn patterns in California a while back just mirrored completely the high-speed rail system that goes to nowhere that they want to build in California, the boondoggles, so politicians can enrich themselves, line their pockets. And insurance companies knew about this in advance because they canceled fire policies up and down that corridor, all over the place, so they got out of it, so they wouldn't be stuck with the bill. And then your burn pattern in your inner cities, where you had the riots, turns out that those are the exact areas where the Federal Reserve Bank will need the land to expand their operations so that we can all have accounts directly with the Federal Reserve rather than going through credit unions and local and small banks. We are in deep trouble, and we brought this on ourselves. We've allowed the enemy into our lands. They have taken over. They have destroyed our social fabric. They've destroyed moral fabric. They've destroyed the structure of checks and balances, the structure of our government. There is no hope on any of that. You are forced at this point to turn to Yahweh, Creator, Father God. We don't have much of a choice. We certainly can't do it on our own. We certainly can't count upon this Attorney General to do the right thing. And the Biden administration has given orders so that the Chinese have free reign. My God, the Chi-Coms control our electric grid right now. That as soon as he took office, he signed that over to them right away. They control our election system. And the FBI does all kinds of cover-up for them as well. And I guess Department of Homeland Security's got contracts with them. I've seen the data. I cannot remember. It's just so incredibly vast. There's so much to it. Certainly, there's no civil way out of this, and I don't think there's a violent way out of it either. God does not bless rebellion. He will bless self-defense. And our Revolutionary War was not an act of rebellion. It was an act of self-defense because the king had abandoned us and set us free and then changed his mind. Not only did he change his mind, but he used the Indians to go after us by putting a treble bounty on long blonde hair and a double bounty on other colors of long hair, and then a regular bounty on a man's short hair scalp. They practiced genocide back then. They're doing it today, and you already know how they're doing it, and it's causing a lot of sudden deaths. I spoke to someone with some knowledge and some education, and he told me that by 2023, 68%. And I asked, is that 68% of the stupid fools who volunteered? Or is that, well, it turns out it's 68% of the public at large here. So my comment in response to that is we won't be able to bury them all. We won't have enough manpower to be able to pull all that off. And the country's going to be in utter despair, emotionally, very distraught. So here you have a state, Oregon is trying to vote away their Second Amendment rights for self-defense. The governor of Michigan actually gave grants to the Chi-Com people in order to undermine our elections. She really should be tried for high treason. I'm speaking of Gretchen Whitmer, that individual who supposedly a group of men were suckered into conspiring to kidnap her. I think there were 20 men involved, and out of those, it was at least 15 or 16 were FBI agents. I think they've gotten 2 guilty pleas and let the others go. I'm not sure about the outcomes on that. I can't keep up with this stuff, folks. It's just overwhelming. There's too much to it. My recommendation is put aside water. Put aside fuels. Fill up on those. Put aside whatever you need. Medications, food, ammunition, firearms. Get what you really need. Don't buy anything frivolous. Don't waste any of your efforts on anything that's frivolous whatsoever. Things are going to be coming down hard and fast. It looks to me like this idea of $15 a gallon fuel is going to actually be a real dream. You're going to be dreaming that it was available to pay $15 for. It's not even going to be available for that, most likely. Why? Because gas requires diesel-driven trucks to get delivered. Food requires diesel-powered trucks to get delivered. Everything in this country moves on diesel. And you guys decided to declare war on diesel as a fossil fuel. Diesel is not a fossil fuel. That's really bad science. That's not what it is. You want to know something about it, go look up Colonel Prouty. Colonel Prouty will tell you about the misclassification of those fuels as being fossil fuels. There's no fossil in there. There's no fossil to be found. They're not even among the fossils. Has nothing to do with fossils. That was a marketing ploy to make it more valuable and increase the value of it because it was so plentiful. There was so much oil under our feet that they really couldn't quite give it away. And in case you're wondering, they're still flaring off natural gas at the oil wells because it's a nuisance. You realize that could be captured quite easily? It's going to be burned anyway. They burn it right there. So why not capture it? Why not pipe it into the cities, into our houses? It can even power automobiles. And it burns very, very clean. But we have to demonize it. At this point, they have us headed for destruction. They've been heading us this way for quite a while. Our politicians, well, we have the finest congressmen money can buy. Right now, they all are on the war machine, and I believe they're all getting kickbacks from the Ukraine in that effort. And they're doing their best to start the war with Taiwan. Nobody can be trusted at this point. Nobody. We started this war in the Ukraine. We're responsible for the whole thing. We were the ones that had the Ukraine break the Minsk Accords, violate their word. That was a problem. So this war has been in the works for a long time. And right now, we've got the Finnish joining NATO, and we're bragging, well, the Finnish have more artillery than anybody else on the planet, so the Russians are in trouble because of the Finnish artillery. Well, we've gone as far as to move nukes up into Finland. We're putting them in there now. And so, what do you expect is going to happen? I think that we're going to end up in a nuclear war, and we will have done it to ourselves. Russia will have no choice. It is an existential threat, and we've been played very poorly here. And Barack Obama and his puppet, who occupies the White House in his name right now and does his bidding, even he knows it's gone too far. But remember, he and Michelle, they both hate America. They would love to see us nuked. They're out on that island. They think they're pretty safe. They are. They've made themselves somewhat EMP proof. They've gotten a really nice big generator on that wonderful house. Great amount of acreage out there. And they've got about the biggest LP gas tank, natural gas tank rather, that you can buy. They had to get a special permit. It was so big. Now, what do the Obamas know that we don't know? If the grid goes down, they're going to be fine. Ann Arbor, Michigan, the mayor there, Democrat mayor, convinced everybody, take the gas appliances out of your house, disconnect the natural gas, go all electric. But what does he do? He puts natural gas appliances in his house. We're in deep trouble, folks. We can't get the truth out of any of the professions. At this point, they have to lie. We cannot have honest discourse. We cannot talk freely. We cannot debate matters. We are controlled. The Chi-Coms control it all right now. We have an enemy that's taken us over and has a stranglehold on the United States. And they want us dead. And you may say, well, they'd never do that. Why would anyone want to do that? Well, you need to figure some stuff out. First of all, you need to understand that there really is some serious evil in the world. The FBI is no good. It was the FBI that covered up the Kennedy assassination. How? J. Edgar Hoover ordered the murder of 31, at least 31 of the eyewitnesses. He had a special team inside the FBI. You want to know the name of one of those FBI agents? Go get Michael Collins' Piper book called Final Judgment. Just took another look up at the book. You'll find the name of the agent. You'll find the name of one of the guys he killed under the orders of J. Edgar Hoover. The FBI was founded in 1913. At the same time, the Federal Reserve System was started. Now, who was behind the Federal Reserve System? The same people behind the creation of the FBI. And also the same people behind the creation of the ADL. The Anti-Defamation League, who claims that their job is to fight defamation of Jews. But it turns out that their number one method is to defame people. You can't enter into an honest discussion of there wasn't enough fuel to burn 6 million corpses in Germany. You didn't have the manpower to handle all that. There were no records that would support that whatsoever. The bodies that were videoed, or rather filmed at the time, came from Dresden on flat cars. We have an eyewitness there. He was an Army intelligence warrant officer whose job it was to bring the corpses from Dresden that had been firebombed, killing about 400,000, maybe 600,000, and hauling those over to those camps. What do those camps all have in common? The gauges of the rail systems changed there, so your trains could not continue on. You had to change trains in order to put a train that would run on those rails. That's what they had in common. Nobody found any mass graves. Where's the evidence? Where is the logic? I was at one of those camps. Which one was the darn thing? I was a little boy. I looked at it. They showed us the ovens. They were pretty old, pretty rickety. I mean, they looked like they were made for baking bread. They didn't look big enough to put a body in. I remember I was a little boy. I looked at the showers. I looked over. There was one pipe that was sticking out of the floor. The doors did not seal up. So how do you contain gas? It just didn't look anything like what they were claiming. Dachau. I saw the Guernica, I think it was called. Picasso's picture was on display there. It was a nice big picture. Not my style, but oh well, the Guernica was there and on display. It was a long time ago, about the time the Berlin Wall went up. I lived among the German people, and they were better than we were. I was a little boy. I wasn't brainwashed, although I was subject to the propaganda, and I was afraid to go over there because of the boogeyman, the guy they had up there screaming and hollering and shouting, and really fast and really maniacal. Hell, they sped up the damn films to make him look crazy. And his voice sounded, it was shrieking. That wasn't his natural voice at all. They did it to scare the hell out of us, and it succeeded. And I get over there, they were a nice people. They were rational, logical, honest. They ratted themselves out all the time. They were noble. They were better than we were. That's the way I saw it. The enemy that we have occupied Berlin at the time of the Weimar Republic, and they took that nation down. The decadence was incredibly horrible. They learned their lesson from that. They have to go slower, so that the frogs that you're boiling alive do not wake up in time to get out of the pot. It's too late to get out of the pot. Our goose is cooked. It's pretty much over. There's not much you're going to be able to do about it. People are dumb. They're stupid. They're brainwashed. They believe so much stuff right now. And of course, all of the fabric of science has been distorted as much as possible. The terms have been obscured. The principles have been obscured in order to make it really difficult for us to actually get our bearings, to have any kind of a compass, to have a proper yardstick, to have good sound measures from which to look at things. We have lost our way. The foundations for Western civilization found in that King James Bible. The best version of it is the proper name version of the King James Bible. Hit that link down below. Go there. Get the best price possible on that new Bible. You will find that they have been printed up in Belarus, and we're not going to bring any more over here. That's it. And you will find that the price is it's less than half of what it rightfully should be on the market. So they're available quite cheap. Get the book, or books I should say, and read those. They'll help you to understand who the enemy is. They explain it. Herod the Great was an Idumean. What is an Idumean? You need to learn that. What did the man do? What was his character like? He was a baby killer, baby murderer, okay? I don't want to get haywire, but we don't have any justice at this point. We don't have any rationale. A man doesn't have any rights anymore. The women dominate everything. They decide if they're going to kill our children, for one. They don't give us a choice. It's not like a woman will show up on your doorstep and say, hey, babe, well, I'm pregnant. And do you want the child? Would you like this baby? Do you want me? I mean, that's one of the things she could ask as well. But she could at least ask, do you want to have the child? And she could at least have the magnanimity. She could at least be generous enough to say, if you want the child, I will give you the child. And we should be able to step up and say, yeah, I want the baby. And let her go. Let her go her own way. If she wants to go wild, let the girls go wild. They aren't going to be able to stop them anyway. But if we at least had it in court so that a woman had to notify the man, or she'd have to go to a judge and state her case as to why she can't notify the man, or why she shouldn't have to, that would be helpful. And you may say, well, that might impair the woman's right to choose. And after all, it is her body. I got news for you. One egg is her body, and the other, the sperm, is the man's body. So why does he not have a say-so in his contribution to the creation of that child? And when you get down to it, it's not the woman's body or the man's body. It's the baby's body. It's the child's body. But we're not allowed to have self-rule in the individual states so that we can have diversity, so that we can have coexistence. We're not allowed to have that. The women have to dictate to us and rule over everything. Well, look at where it's getting you. Men aren't marrying you. They aren't even dating you. Why? Because the juice is not, the squeeze is not worth the juice. Whatever. It's just not worth it. There's not enough in there for us. We are not respected. And a man, the requisite in a man is there has to be respect or there can be no love. And this thing about women being more caring, more nurturing, bullshit. Why are you murdering our children? How caring is that? And you want to be able to even kill the baby after you've given birth to it? Wow. Why don't you just go and sell the body? I mean, look at what Planned Parenthood gets off those things. I mean, the women that run that place, they plan on buying high-end cars and stuff because they're making so much money off those body parts of the baby. And they put those baby parts, those tissues, in your food and in your cosmetics. Good Lord. Okay, folks, that's kind of disgusting. I don't really want to take it there. But the fact is that the FBI also helped the Oklahoma City bombing occur. The ATF discovered the bombing 6 weeks in advance. There was an ATF agent who discovered it, sent it up the chain of command, and the FBI told the ATF to stand down. And then April 19th, the FBI allowed that bombing to occur. 6 weeks later, they should have stopped it. Instead, they allowed 19 children to be murdered. That's the number that I remember. I could be wrong. Go look that up. But we know it was an inside job because Cody told us so. Cody Golden Oak. What was his last name? He actually was offered the contract in advance. And the FBI helped the guy who did that escape. 9 months after the bombing, they escorted him out through Nova Scotia so he could go back to Germany, back to his native country. Yes, your FBI did that. And then when it comes to 9/11, that was totally covered up as well. We have to agree. A crime occurred. Several crimes occurred. And we have to agree. It was never properly investigated. So you're stuck with this. You get to wage war and kill millions of people outside of the country who are innocent. Nothing to do with it. There's prices to be paid for all of this. So you think that Yahweh is not going to allow you to be nuked? Well, what about Sodom and Gomorrah? We have the physical evidence those were nuked. We found a crystal in the layer of destruction there. Physical evidence of a nuclear bomb blast, and the bodies were all aligned away from the center of the blast. Yeah, hellfire and brimstone. So we are probably worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. Today, we're probably worse. And you think God is going to forgive everything and we're not going to get nuked? Read the book of Zechariah. There's some allusions in there to nuclear war. There's allusions to it throughout the whole Bible. There's references to it. So at this point, I think we've got it coming. And you put this imbecile in office who gets to, behind whom Barack Obama gets to hide, and these other people. And they put the enemies of America in all these positions beside them. Oh, don't get me wrong. Trump made bad choices too on that. But he didn't so universal like Biden has done it. So you've got a guy in there who wrote a book on waging war against your allies by blowing up their pipelines. Published it a long time ago. I wonder how many times the guy has blown up pipelines. And you think that you're being friendly when you destroy the Germans' ability to heat themselves? You destroy their industrial base by depriving them of that energy? Did you ask the Germans? Did you get their consent to blow up Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2? You've been waging war. And it's liable to go hot. Read the Bible. The evidence is in there of biological warfare, of men and women hurting so badly, suffering so much that they pray for death. They pray that they would die to end their suffering. And the description of the maladies, that's in there. It's in there. Go look it up. Even the darn size of the multiple independent reentry vehicles, the MIRVs, those are even described in detail, accurate detail, to scale, if not to the precise measurements, right there in the Old Testament, 2,500 years ago. Rex did a series of 3 videos on that. Man, he did such a good job. You ought to go look that up. He'll explain it to you. Folks, Yahweh's not playing around with us. We have turned our backs on him. He's doing the same thing to us. Look at the leadership that we've been given. He gave us that. We have been deported in place. They have superimposed a foreign jurisdiction upon us. And through a series of frauds, they've stolen everything and enslaved everyone. They didn't free the slaves. They put us all, sold us all into bondage. And I see the old people that have no clue as to any of this. I feel sorry for them because they're going to suffer through it. I think that maybe Yahweh will protect the country long enough for that generation to pass away, but that generation's almost all gone. According to biblical principles, when that generation is gone, the gloves come off. The country is gone. We don't have a democracy. We're being ruled by the Chi-Coms. The Pentagon has allowed it to happen. The Department of Justice is actively working on behalf of the Chi-Coms, as is the FBI. And the CIA, they're in there too. And the Department of Homeland Security, another impediment to our true security. You think that by giving up your rights to those branches of the government, you're safer, you're freer, and you're not. And you're losing it all. About the best thing you can do is to ignore the government in D.C., and ignore these state governments and go into the counties and into the countryside and take over the county governments and not let anyone in your county who doesn't believe in the republic the way that you do. That's what Jefferson wrote on how to restore the republic once lost. He said, you take over the county and you don't let anyone in at all unless they agree with your philosophy and your outlook. If they're not in support of the Constitution, you don't allow them in. He got that from Moses, by the way. The FBI has done horrible things to the last president. They did horrible things. They went to the courts and they lied to the judges to get illegal court orders. The FBI has done so much mischief that I don't think they're any good. I don't think they can be restored. I think they have to be taken apart. I think they have to be examined. I think they have to be tried. I think the former head of the FBI needs to be facing charges. And this idea of keeping such traitors alive does not appeal to me. I want to see an end put to them and their mischief. I don't want them affecting other people outside of the prisons with their wrong thinking, with their ideas. And besides that, if we leave them in there alive, there's going to be people on the outside who are going to revere them. Especially women are going to write the murdering guys up and write them letters how much they admire them and want to marry them and have their children, their babies, even though they're in prison and will never get out. It's pretty twisted, sister, don't you think? Well, you all seem to be enamored with serial killers. And there's a lot of serial killers walking around that have not been charged, tried, convicted yet. Well, I think I might have skirted on the edges of things I shouldn't have, but I have to tell you that I don't have any faith in our ability to move forward. We certainly stopped being a republic quite a while ago. And as far as our democracy, the people who claim things threaten our democracy are the very threats to it. And the people who say, well, we can't do anything about the news media, hogwash. I mean, if I was president, the executive order would be these people, these organizations, lose their broadcasting licenses, period. And I'm not going to let the courts stay that order at all. I'd be jailing the darn judges who tried to go against it at this point. You need to enter survival mode. It's going to be coming here shortly. They're going to wait until after this Tuesday fiasco in order to cut this loose on us. They might wait a little longer than that because they'll still be processing and tabloing and wanting to give it the appearance of being kosher, no matter what. And I don't have any confidence in the vote in Pennsylvania. They've already issued 250,000 ballots in violation of their own laws. I don't have any confidence of the vote in Michigan because I believe it's all farmed out to the Chi-Coms. I don't have any confidence in the vote in Arizona because every time they tried to change the laws and set things up for proper checks and balances and confirmations, it got torpedoed. I mean, that one Rusty guy, that Rhino, they got rid of him. Wonderful. But as far as the supervisory board for Maricopa County, I think those people still are free and running around. And now you have the guy who actually engineered the fraudulent system, Adrian Fontes, running to become Secretary of State. I hope he doesn't make it, but if he does, he already kept recounting the one election back in 2016 till he got Democrats in office that he wanted in office. Is that not treason? Tell me. What do you think? So how much do we owe Yahweh at this point? What about the Ten Commandments? Are we beholding to any of that? What about our ethics? What about being good? America was only great because America was good. That changed in the last 100 years. We didn't need a Federal Reserve System. We didn't need the ADL. We didn't need their problems in this country. We certainly didn't need the FBI. We did fine without an FBI. And we did fine without an income tax. We did fine without a lot of these things. How did we manage? How could we have managed? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to go back to the structure our founders gave us originally. That's all we have to do. And that right there is a tall order. You need to remove all the amendments to the original 13th Amendment. Put the attorneys in their places. Provided for the separation of powers so that we had proper checks and balances in the government. And all subsequent amendments are out of order, which means the income tax goes away. You restore tariffs and duties at the borders. You restore the federal mint, in which the federal mint collects the flange, the excess metal left over from the striking of coins. That's the fee that those owners of those precious metals pay to have the government press the coins, stamp them out for them. And still can't remember the name of that, but I wish I could. Svedging, something like that. There's a particular name for it. Well, folks, I'm way over time. I just wanted to let you know that there's no coming back, that it is over. I have no hope in it whatsoever. We cannot talk freely. Our First Amendment free speech rights have been curtailed. We can't even worship freely. The governors that overstep their bounds should be up for charges. They should all be convicted felons at this point. They should all be doing at least a year in prison, made felons, and stripped of any of their retirements from public office, and stripped of their ability to hold public office again. I don't think that's too much to ask. The governor of Arizona is guilty of that. And then they mandated what? They mandated the stuff that's doing so much damage and is hurting us? All right, folks. I'm on the verge of committing a sin against YouTube. I don't want to be doing that. Well, get on your knees and pray to Yahweh. Ask Him to give the leaders of these nations wisdom so we might be able to avoid this nuclear war. Ask Him to show us the truth and give us justice. Yahweh bless America.